Ladies and gentlemen, swinging into All-American Girl, the band forms a large rose in the middle of the field. They played their fanfare, the Buckeye battle cry. The homecoming queen is brought down through the stem of the flower into a place in the center of the formation. She ascends a podium placed there in order to greet the assembled alumni. And that is all taking place down there on the field. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to avail myself the opportunity. You know, there comes a time in each football season when many of us talk about the picking up All-Americans here and All-Americans there. So we, of the Atlantic Refining Broadcasting Setup, go to Philadelphia every year. We spend several days there in the company of the coaches and with the officials of the Atlantic Refining Company and other experts on football. I know of no other man in America who gets around and sees all of these great ball games any more than does Les Quayle, who formerly used to work with Ted Using, but who is now an official in Philadelphia. He's here in the booth with us today, and he's asked me not to introduce him, but it wouldn't be a football game, particularly Ohio State, Michigan, if we didn't ask Les Quayle a few little questions and so forth. Les, what do you think of it all? It's nice of you to be out to Columbus. We're glad to see you.
I'm certainly glad to be back here, Tom. You know, I told you last night that I haven't seen a good football game this year. Well, boy, I'm getting it today because these two teams, Michigan and Ohio State, I'd stack up against any team in the country, and that goes to Georgia and Georgia Tech and Boston College, the rest of those unbeaten teams. I think that both Ohio State and Michigan are putting on a game today of terrific blocking, fierce tackling, and of course, in a game like this, a break, or not exactly a break, but something happens that turns the tide, and that's just what happened in the second half when Ohio State blocked the kick and in 3 plays had a touchdown. Strangely enough, before that block kick, there hadn't been a pass thrown, and it looked as though both teams would attempt to score by way of the ground route. But Ohio State certainly went to town on 2 passes and 1 running play, and that's been the ball game to here, 7-0. Lord knows what's going to happen in the second half, Tom.
Les, we've heard a lot out here by a boy named Governale. You've seen him play. What do you think of him?
Paul Governale, I think he's the best individual back I've watched all year, particularly on a team that's been going nowhere, but they just can't seem to stop Paul Governale. At least I voted for him in the Heisman Award.
One more question before you get away, Les. We've been watching 2 great lines out here. The lines are putting on a great show. And, you know, frequently when we're broadcasting, we don't intentionally do it, but we usually star the backfield men because they're usually in motion. They're back catching the punt. They're doing the punting, the forward pass, catching and throwing as well. But this afternoon, I'd like to have your version of the Ohio-Michigan line.
Well, Tom, in a game like this, every man's got to be playing top-notch football. Otherwise, we wouldn't get the absence of terrific scoring. I'd say that Wistett and Fregelman of Michigan and Houston and Dean of Ohio State have been the outstanding linemen, and not forgetting Phil Vickroff.
Thank you, Les. Lots of luck to you. Nice of you to drop into our booth. All right, down on the field now, the band has gone into another formation, and the homecoming queen is being escorted off the field. The homecoming queen this afternoon, I've got Jim Fairman here. Jim, who's that homecoming?
Rosemary Hickey is the homecoming queen this year, Tom.
We have quite an announcement down on the field, and I know it's awfully hard for you at times to hear the voices, so we have a copy of it, and the announcer is saying this. May I call your attention to the group at the microphone, center of the field, the west side. At the microphone now is Mr. G.E. Tenney of Chicago, class of 1915. He's president of the Ohio State University Association, the official alumni organization. Mr. Tenney answered, ladies and gentlemen, the alumni of the university, proud of Ohio State's contribution to the war, today are presenting to the university a service flag honoring those of Ohio State family now in the service. It is my honor to introduce Governor John W. Bricker, himself an alumnus of the university, who will speak to you briefly at this time. Let us hear the governor's voice if possible.
This Ohio State field is the center and the heart of the athletic interest of our nation. But in the midst of that, we must pause to do honor to the boys,
Ladies and gentlemen, I understand from our engineer that it's rather difficult to pick the governor's voice up. Now that we have heard the echo of it at least, he said, fellow alumni, fellow citizens. Today, we are witnessing here the American competitive spirit that has made us a strong nation. Our thoughts go to former players on this gridiron and to our other boys who are now carrying their country's colors to the far corners of the globe. 10 of our starting lineup against Michigan last year are today officers in the service. The 11th is Shaw, a junior. They are particularly close to us today. This game is being shortwave to all our overseas units. So, many of our boys are with us right this moment. We love them all. We play for them all. And we are thinking of all of them. And we dedicate this flag to the 5,000 Ohio State University men in service. Michigan has contributed a similar number. So we speak of these two today only as they are representative of all universities. Our American universities today are arsenals of war. They are making an outstanding contribution. They are providing new knowledge, new inventions, and highly trained and skilled manpower. Military drill has always been compulsory at Ohio State. So, among her 5,000 men in the service are many high-ranking officers. There are 6 generals among them, 100 colonels, 200 majors, 500 captains, and about 1,500 lieutenants. 600 of her men are in the Navy and Marine Corps. These numbers will be doubled and trebled. In the last war, Ohio State supplied 6,594 officers and enlisted men, second only to Cornell. As these teams of Michigan and Ohio State face each other today, they are here only on borrowed time. Some of them will be in the service at the end of this academic quarter. All of them will be in before long. They are disciplined in mind and body. We glory in their strength and ability. We exult in their keen, competitive spirit. An Army and Navy built of such stuff can have only one destiny, victory. We pray God it may come soon. Now the governor receives his hand from the 76,000 here at Ohio State. Mr. Keeney is back on the rostrum. He said, "Thank you, Governor Brickner. I now present to President Beavis this service flag, a gray banner with large scarlet star upon which are emblazoned in plate numerals 5,000, representing the number of our boys in the service. President Beavis, no university president could be other than touched with this dramatic expression of the strength of this university and with this vivid symbol of our contribution to the war effort. Let me say that I think of all the other colleges and universities of America and the remarkable adjustment they have made to the all-out effort of war as I accept this service flag in the name of Ohio State University." And closing, you can hear the announcer's voice in a moment, asking everybody to rise and stand at attention for one moment while the band plays one of the most beloved alma mater songs of all time. The speeches are still going down on the field. The Ohio State band have formed 2 great stars. Usually they go into a flock or a skip, O for Common Ohio. But this afternoon, Manly R. Whitcomb is now standing there, baton in hand. The teams are coming on the field, and ladies and gentlemen, let us rise and pray as we listen to Common Ohio. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the teams are back on the field. The maize and blue of Michigan, the scarlet and gray of Ohio State, and it won't be long now until we'll be getting into the second half of this ball game upon which hangs the Western Conference title. starting for Ohio State at left end will be White. Left tackle, Willis is back in. Dean at left guard. Fitzroy at center. On the right side of the line, Houston at guard. Surrey at tackle and Shaw at end. In the Ohio State starting backfield of the second period, Lynn at quarter, Beckety at full, Sarringhouse and Horvath. And the Michigan second and third teams have run out there now with their long coats on, and they're all in a huddle with Coach Fritz Chrysler of the Maize and Blue. We believe the Michigan line and backfield will be as the starting team. Kuzma's back in at left half, White at right half, Cy Hamill we see. Michigan will receive. The score, you know, Ohio State 7, Michigan nothing. Michigan will kick off for the second half and defend the north goal. Michigan will kick off and Ohio State has gone into their receiving position. By kicking off for Ohio State, or for Michigan rather, it'll be Flegelman kicking off, and Tommy Kuzma will hold the ball. Sarringhouse, Beckety, and Horvath all standing back inside the Ohio 5. All right, there's the referee's whistle. Flegelman runs up and he kicks the ball. It's down the middle. It is taken by George Lynn. He takes it on the 15. He's up to the 20, and he's hit on the 25, but he gets away, and he finally falls on the 30-yard line with Al Wistert and Sharp hanging around his neck. So the Ohio State ball, 1st and 10 on the own 30-yard line. What a ball game this has been. Two great lines out there. They're really going to town. Our engineer in the booth here, John Disbro, hits me with a piece of paper, and he says, WTAM Cleveland. All right, Ohio State at T formation, single wing right, Sarringhouse deep, Beckety is up. The ball goes to Beckety, end around play, the ball is given to Horvath, and Horvath runs Michigan's right end and right tackle, and he gets up over the 30-yard line. He's dropped on the 32 by Petzula and Paul White. All right, it'll be 2nd down, 8 Ohio State. The ball is about 20 yards in from the east side of the field. We just started the third quarter of the ball game. Ohio up, T formation, single wing, they shift to the left. And Beckety up and Horvath deep. Horvath takes the ball, and he finds a little bit of a hole through the forward wall there, and he bounds up to about the 34-35 before Flegelman, Petzula, and Cy Hamill bring him to earth. The ball is placed on the Ohio State 34-yard line. 3rd down and 6. Ohio fading back to their own 25 in that signal huddle. Fitzroy is up over the ball. T formation, Lynn is close. Single wing, they shift to the right. Sarringhouse tailback. Beckety up, Horvath on the wing. The ball goes to Beckety, and on a fake spinner into the line, he laterals the ball back to Horvath, and Horvath tries to run Michigan's left end. He doesn't get very far, however, up about to the 35. It was caught there by Cy Hamill and Wistert, right on the 35-yard line. So it'll be 4th down and 5, Ohio State. Paul Sarringhouse has been doing all the kicking, and he fades back now inside the Ohio State 25. In the safety spot is Kuzma and White for Michigan. They go back almost to their 30. All right, there's the pass and center. Sarringhouse gets away a kick, and it's a pretty fair kick. It's rolling end over end, and oh, what a break for Ohio. Almost out of bounds, and it finally goes down almost to the 18-yard line. That ball landed on the Michigan 35. Looked as if it were going out of bounds on about the 25 or 30, and finally rolled end over end about 1 yard in from the eastern sideline, and it was finally automatically down on the 18-yard line, I believe. Pretty hard for us to see. It's getting awfully dark there. The lines are placed on the 18. Michigan's ball, 1st and 10 on their own 18. On the far side of the field, a T formation. Single wing, they shift to the right. Kuzma's deep. Weiss is up. And the ball goes to Weiss, and then the round play gives it to White. And White is away. And he gets up to his 30, the 35. Hit on the 35. Finally gets away up to the 40 before finally George Lynn brings him down on about the 42-yard line. That is the best offensive run of the afternoon. Ohio State completing 2 nice forward passes. Horvath to Sarringhouse and Sarringhouse to Horvath, but that is the best run of the afternoon, just turned in by White. Paul White, the right halfback of Michigan. Substitution. Sarringhouse going out, and George Slusser coming in for Ohio State. White out at left end, and Steinberg coming in. When play is resumed, the ball will be placed on the Michigan 41-yard line, a 1st down. Sarringhouse was slightly hurt on that last play. Still referee timeout. Barringhouse comes running off the field, however, so he'll probably be back in there again very shortly. You're listening to WTAM. The score in the third quarter. We have 11 minutes and 44 seconds of the third quarter of play remaining. Ohio State 7, Michigan nothing. Ohio State scoring on a blocked punt and 2 forward passes. One Barringhouse to Horvath, and the touchdown Horvath to Barringhouse. Play in again, 1st and 10, Michigan's ball on their own 41. They shift strong to the right, Kuzma in the tailback spot. The ball goes to Weesey on a full spinner play. He finds a big hole through the forward wall, and he bounds up over the 45. Referee has placed the ball just about on the 45, so let's give him 4 yards, make it 2nd and 6. Nice block launched in there that time by George Cyhamel. Cyhamel came through there on that full spinner play, opened up the Ohio State forward wall, enabling the ball carrier to pick up 4 yards. They shift to the strong right again, and then the round play. White gets the ball, and he plows into the forward wall, and he bounded back about 3 yards, clear back to the 40. Then he tried to run Ohio State's right end, but he was smeared back there on the 41 by Vic Roy, Houston, and Shaw. Back on the 41. So it'll be 3rd down and 10 for the Wolverines. That was a wing-back play with Paul coming off the right wing back. He tried to go through Ohio State's right guard and center. He hit a stone wall there and actually bounded back 4 yards, and then gained his composure and tried to run the right end, but he was smeared for the loss. All right, single wing right again for Michigan. In the tailback spot was Kuzma.